But one of the best gifts I got from sport was actually learning to be me. And so if those years are a bit tricky going through sport where you're worrying about it, I'll just say get into it. Get out there and celebrate who you are. It was at the age of 3, I was limping on my right side, and so we went off to the doctor, and he'd said to my parents that somewhere during my mum's pregnancy I had a lack of oxygen to my brain, and that's the reason why I was limping on my right side. So in 1995 I was at the Australian Institute of Sport on a netball scholarship as a 17, 18-year-old, and really exciting place to be. We were playing in the best league in Australia, and in that year it was my physio that actually picked up that I had a mild case of cerebral palsy on my right side, which I always knew I had something wrong, but it was labelled cerebral palsy in that year. And very quickly the word got around that I was there, and the coaches for athletes with a disability got really excited and told me that I potentially could go to the next Paralympic Games in 1996 in Atlanta. I think it was particularly difficult for me at that time because this was in 1995, and when I looked around the world to see what I could be, there wasn't many women. I couldn't even see a woman with cerebral palsy like me at the top level, let alone many women at the top level with a disability. So it became something that was difficult for me to realise, well, if I'm going to go down this pathway, I'm probably going to have to pioneer my own pathway. But what really drove me deep inside was thinking, if I can do this, then maybe one day I could be that person that other young women or even young children with a disability could look up to and say, hey, I want to be like that one day, because as we know, if you can't see it, it is hard to be it. Look, I think it's definitely changed for young women now, and it's, compared to what it was some 20 years ago when I was going through. And I think one of the most important things about that is, for the Paralympic movement, it's progressed incredibly. From the first event I went to in '96 in Atlanta to seeing Rio last year and even London 2012 where it was actually sold out, and to see incredible women in sport and women leaders in sport running amazing times but really embracing their difference. So people love to judge and compare, and this really drove me crazy when I was a Paralympic athlete. And I see this happen exactly the same thing for women and men's sport. Oh, but the women, they aren't as good as the men. I mean, we're so biologically different, and I think one of the solutions is that we just need to suspend or quiet our voice of judgment and actually see things for their own beauty and be curious and observe sport, how it's played differently. Don't compare. As a young woman, if you have the pressures on, looking good or looking a certain way, or just having to step out of your comfort zone and being involved in sport, and there was times that you had to learn to be tough and strong. But strong is beautiful, and being tough is beautiful. And those moments when you're out here training and it's pouring with rain and you've just saturated and you're having to run 400 metres, I mean, they are beautiful moments where you really learn about yourself, and those abilities you learn from sport, wow, you can take into business, you can take to your world and your career. So get out there. So when I was an athlete, I was very conscious of the fact that we didn't have as many women competing in our particular sport. But when I made that transition from sport into business administration from a sporting point of view, wow, my eyes were really open. And to see the inequality in terms of, or lack of diversity on boards, in leadership roles, in management roles, in administration was crazy for me, and I could see that link to then realise, wow, I can see why we don't have as many women in sport, because we don't even have any women in leadership or on our boards that are meant to be representing everyone. So for me, that was something that I could see that we could definitely improve on. For all of those girls that have those moments where they're feeling like dropping out of sport, please don't. Sport is an absolutely wonderful vehicle that can take you to so many places, because you learn so much about yourself and being your authentic self. You learn mental toughness, and you learn what it takes to be great at many different things, and that's beautiful.